The House just passed the Republican-backed refugee bill. The measure would intensify the screening process for any Syrians and Iraqis looking to enter the U.S.
Our Nancy Cordes is tracking developments on Capitol Hill. She joins us now by phone. Nancy, by how much of a margin did this pass?
It passed by a large margin, 289 to 137. That means that a significant number of Democrats joined their Republican colleagues in passing this bill. That was not unexpected. Democrats had been telling us today and yesterday that while this is not the administration's choice, that they didn't see anything terrible enough in this bill to justify them voting against it at a time when they're getting calls from their constituents saying that they're concerned about refugees coming into this country from Syria unvetted. So what this bill does is say that that those refugees need to undergo background checks, which is already happening according to the administration, happens whenever they allow a refugee into this country, but also that officials like the Director of National Intelligence and the Secretary of Homeland Security would have to certify that each and every refugee who comes into the country does not pose a security threat. And that is what troubles the administration. They feel that this sends the wrong message overseas, that we're concerned about these, as the president puts it, widows and 3-year-olds who are coming into the country by and large, but also that it ties up the Secretary of Homeland Security and other security officials if they themselves have to certify that each person who comes into the country is not a security threat.
Yeah, in fact, Homeland Security Chief Jeh Johnson said, I don't have time to do this. I've got enough on my plate. Did that issue come up on the floor at all?
It did come up on the floor, and Nancy Pelosi, for example, the Democratic leader, brought it up. She brought it up in a press conference with us shortly thereafter. But the challenge is, and this is something that has been a bit frustrating for Democrats the past couple of days, is that they needed a little more cover from the administration that they were going to vote against this. It would have been one thing if the bill said, we're going to stop refugees from coming into this country altogether, or this is going to apply to all refugees. That would have given Democrats some cover to vote against it. But it didn't. It was a pretty narrowly focused bill. And while the president himself has spoken out vigorously against it overseas, they just felt that the administration, by and large, wasn't doing enough to sort of, to forcefully denounce this bill, giving them the cover to say, well, I'm on the side of the president and I'm going to vote against it.
Well, speaking of the president, he has said that he would veto this bill if it should pass. It's passed the House. And we also know that Speaker Ryan made a comment about that. What was his reaction?
He says that he doesn't understand why the president would want to veto this legislation. He says, in the wake of what happened in Paris and the fact that one of the terrorists may have come into Europe disguised as a Syrian refugee, that he doesn't understand why he wouldn't want to put even more scrutiny on the 10,000 or so refugees that we are slated to allow in over the coming year. What the administration is arguing is we already place the highest scrutiny on these refugees of anyone that we allow into the country. And you had Democrats arguing today, look, if we're going to, excuse me, up our scrutiny, then let's do it on people who are coming in on visa waivers, who are coming in essentially as tourists, but coming in from Europe, other parts of the world, who aren't undergoing these kinds of background checks. Let's look more carefully at people who are on the terror watch list who are already in this country. Let's prevent those people from getting guns. So that's the debate that we're having right now. I asked Speaker Ryan about that this morning, whether he would be in favor of prohibiting anyone who is on the no-fly list from getting a gun, and he was very non-committal. He said, well, we're looking at everything, and we'll look at that too, but he basically didn't come down on it one way or the other.
Did Speaker Ryan give you any indication that he was concerned that if he didn't bring this particular bill to a vote, that perhaps the upcoming spending measure bill, I can't remember the date, but it's pretty soon, that maybe this issue would be held hostage? there over that vote?
Yes, I mean, I think that is a concern, is that nobody wants to play around with, well, some people do, but
Yeah.
but Republican and Democratic leaders don't want to play around with a bill to fund the government for the entire year in a way that leads to a government shutdown if you attach something this controversial, this heated to that must-pass bill, and then you get down to the wire, as they always do here on Capitol Hill, and the fight becomes a fight over refugees as opposed to a fight over just funding the government for the rest of the year. So, they're taking this vote now. They're leaving today, the House and the Senate, for Thanksgiving recess. So the earliest that the Senate will take this up is at the end of the month when they get back. But the House Republicans were very keen to send a message as quickly as possible. That's another reason that they didn't wait on, was because they wanted to be able to send a message before they left that they have these concerns, that the constituents they're hearing from have these concerns, and they want to make sure that the administration is addressing them.
All right, Nancy Cordes reporting for us from Capitol Hill. Thank you for that update. Appreciate it.